Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to people in other time zones. I'm Steve Farrell, the Worldwide Executive Director for Humanities Team, and welcome to this Living in Oneness Summit call. It's great to be with you. I'm going to be having a conversation with a very special guest today, Don Miguel Ruiz. Don Miguel Ruiz is a renowned spiritual teacher and international best-selling author. He had a near-death experience in 2002 that changed his life forever. He wrote a book about what happened. We'll talk about this and more during the hour. I'll be introducing Don Miguel shortly. We're all super excited about today's program. We have over almost 20,000 people registered for today's call. Questions are already coming in. Thank you so much, everyone, for prioritizing time to be here for this important conversation. As always, this call is interactive with each of you, our listeners, so we want to invite you to put your questions in the question window on Instant Teleseminar. I promise that we'll get to at least a few of your questions during the hour. A little about Humanities Team as we get started. In Humanities Team, we see there is only one presence, the divine, and see we are all offspring and expressions of the divine. This means God's love, light, grace, and peace are ours because there is no separation and we share the same essence. Since our founding in 2003, we've done our best to live as one with the divine, each other, and our earth home. We don't need to be perfect. It doesn't have to feel heavy. We must only do our best, and we can have fun with this, as we'll demonstrate on today's call. When we talk about oneness with the divine, of course, this is true for all of life, not just humanity. This has repercussions for how we see ourselves, others, and the earth that is our home. This means everyone and everything is sacred and should be treated as such. It also means we're responsible for the world around us because, in truth, it's part of our authentic self, encompassing the whole of the earth. Perhaps there's nothing more important than this, coming to see ourselves as a cell in the body of the divine, the earth, and stepping into a role where we're caring for the earth and the world that we live in. This is our focus in Humanities Team. If you resonate with our work, we invite you to go to humanitiesteam.org, our website, and reach out to us about projects that you might like to become involved in. Please get comfortable as we begin our program. I'm now going to introduce our special guest. Don Miguel Ruiz is a renowned spiritual teacher and international best-selling author. He has spent the past 3 decades guiding students to personal freedom through his profound insights regarding the nature of human reality. His new book, The Toltec Art of Life and Death, a story of self-discovery, just came out in October 2015. As a young adult, he graduated from medical school in Mexico City and practiced neurosurgery with his older brother in Tijuana. A near-fatal car crash forever changed the direction of his life, however, causing him to leave medicine and to examine the essential truth about life and humanity. With his mother's help and through her ancestral teachings, he discovered his own path to awareness, which evolved into a deep understanding of the physical universe and the virtual world of the mind. Combining Toltec mythology and scientific perspectives, Don Miguel has been able to merge ancient wisdom with modern physics and practical common sense, forging a new philosophy for seekers of truth and personal authenticity. His landmark best-selling book, The Four Agreements, contains practical steps for long-term personal transformation and has been read by millions around the world and translated into 38 languages. The wisdom that Don Miguel has brought to the world has earned him respect around the globe. He has dedicated his life to sharing his message through practical concepts in order to promote transformation and ultimately change lives for the better. Don Miguel Ruiz lives in San Diego, California. You can learn more about him at miguelruiz.com. That's MIGUELRUIZ.com. Don Miguel is a wonderful friend of Humanities Team, the Living in Oneness Summit, and Global Oneness Day. Welcome to the Living in Oneness Summit. Don Miguel, it's great to have you with us.
It's a great pleasure to be once again with all of you, and I'm so excited to share my point of view with everybody who want to listen.
Well, we have a great audience with us here, Don Miguel, and the questions already coming in, and it's always great to be with you. Let me just say, Don Miguel has, from time to time, traveled through Boulder, Colorado, where I live, and he's such an amazing man, and it's even over the phone, it's just a real privilege to be with you. Well, let's go.
Well, this is my this is a privilege really to be part of all of you. It's just beautiful. It's wonderful.
Well, thank you. Well, let's go ahead and jump in and talk about this newest book, The Toltec Art of Life and Death, that just came out in October of last year. Fascinating, this story that you were suspended between life and death for a fairly lengthy period of time, and this changed your whole life. Can we, maybe this is a good place to jump in.
Well, it's really a great story, but it's as great as everybody else's, because as artists, we all create the story of our life, and every story is extremely interesting. But of course, in this time, I focus in my own creation, and it's interesting because I know that I'm not what I believe I was, and it's great to understand that by the end, it's only one living being, of course, and is alive. And everything comes from that point. And we all are great artists, even if we are not aware of that.
Yes. So it's a radical perspective, isn't it?
Well, yes. It's to take responsibility for every single decision that we make in our life, and to see that the way we live our life is really the result of all the decisions that we made, and of course the decisions that the people around us make for us, especially with our children.
Yes. Well, you've even shared a little bit about this personally, and you shared how this wisdom that came to you during this time when you were suspended between life and death, that it was just earth-shattering, that it just changed kind of how you looked at everything entirely. Can you just share a little about that, just maybe the experience itself, because when you go back in time to relive something like that, it's so powerful, and then how you have brought this into your teachings.
Well, all this began in February 28, 2002. 4 in the morning, a strong pain woke me up, and because I'm a medical doctor, I knew right away, without a doubt, that it is a heart attack. Then I called right away 911. I let them know what was happening, and right away I called my my manager, and I was very excited. Even that the pain is very strong, I was excited because finally I'm gonna have the experience of leaving my physical body, and I knew that this could be my last teachings. Then I talked to my manager and let her know what was happening, and to tell everybody, whoever can, to come and witness how I live my physical body. What I didn't understand at that moment, at that time, is that in intensive care, nobody can really visit you. Then it was very few people, the ones that I see before I went into 9 weeks of coma. Well, just before going into the coma, I have a visit of my mother. Of course, she came to see me, and she was extremely upset. Then she told me that I don't have the right to die, not before her, even that I'm the youngest of the 13 children. And of course, I say she wanted me to stay to take care of her, and I just laugh and say, Sarita, you have many other children who will take care of you. Don't worry about that. Anyway, with that in mind, I went into coma. Well, at the moment of death, we really perceive our whole life in just a few seconds, the entire life. But in this story, I just focus on the most important memories that I have, and memories would change the direction of my life. I can say that this is a very significant memory, and this is because it's an encounter with the truth. And that really, every time that I have an encounter with the truth, it shakes my whole belief system, and I see everything with a completely different perspective, and definitely change the direction of my life. And in this story, Sarita went into my dream, and she wanted me to stop from death, and I let her know how she can do that. Then I sent her to another secondary character who represents everything that I know, and the name of that person is Lala, and she is the one who takes care of the tree, the tree of knowledge, and she takes Sarita to all those different memories, and memories when first of my own conception, and when I learned to talk, when I have a big experience when one of my old brothers died when I was 10 or 11, then a great talk that I had with my grandfather, who changed completely also the direction of my life, when he let me know that I am not what I believe I am, that in truth I really don't know what I am. And it took many years for me to really digest that information. And later, she went to see a car accident that I had when I was close to become a medical doctor. And of course, in this accident, I see for the very first time, without a doubt, that I am not my physical body. And I'm not really Miguel, just like my grandfather was telling me before. And with the scientist mind, I always want answers. Then as soon as I could, I came back with my mother and my grandfather and share all that experience with them and ask them for help, because I really want to understand what really happened. And that leads me is to go back into the legacy that comes from my ancestors, which is the Toltec knowledge. And by the way, Toltec means artist. And when I talk about Toltec knowledge, I'm talking about the knowledge of an artist. And with that point of view, I see that every single human is an artist. We all are artists. But we don't have the awareness that we are. And it's wonderful because when you have the eye of the artist, you always look for beauty. And that leads you to create the most beautiful story, which is what we all create. Anyway, after that, I went into something that Sarita used to call dreaming. And she teaches that we are dreaming all the time, that we are dreaming when we are awake as well as when we are sleeping. And when we are awake, we have that linear sense of time because we are perceiving light in that moment, and that keeps us into that order. But when we get distracted, we start daydreaming, which is very similar to when the brain is sleeping. We can daydream a lot, and we have a very powerful imagination. And this is what makes us different to almost the rest of the living beings who exist on the planet Earth. With our imagination, we try to find out what we are, where we came from, etc. We are searching for the truth. Anyway, that leads me into the biggest challenge that I had in my entire life. And it's the same challenge that every single human has. It's a conflict that exists in the mind, in everybody's mind. And it's really what makes us be the hero of the savior of our own creation. And that conflict for a long time, we used to believe that it was between good and bad. But good and bad is just the result of the real conflict. Because the real conflict is between the truth and life. The truth is always present. The truth exists long before the creation of humanity. It will exist long after the extinction of humanity. The truth doesn't need to be proved that it exists. It is one, and is what really exists. On the other hand, a lie is a distortion of the truth, a distortion that happens when the truth is reflected in our brain and creates an entire virtual reality. Because we may understand that everything that we perceive is not real. It's true that we perceive light, but all the images that we see is a reflection in our brain. And this is easy to prove because when you have the eyes open, you see millions of objects because light is going into your eyes. The light that was reflected and all those objects go directly into your eyes and project all those images. Then as soon as you close your eyes, then everything just disappears. Then it's easy to understand that the reality in the one we live is virtual and it's only truth for us. And with our brain, with our mind, we try to put words and explain what we are perceiving. And this is how we create an entire language, the language that we speak. And this is the reason why everything that we know is explained in the language that we control. And our truth is only true in the language that we speak. But if tomorrow, let's say, we wake up in Japan or Germany or any other country where they don't speak English, we will not understand anything. And this is because the language that they create with all the agreements that they have is completely different than ours. Even that they may say the same thing, but the symbology is completely different. Then we can understand that very easily. Well, when in the time that I was sitting with Sarita, this is what I was experiencing, because I find out that almost everything that I know is not truth. But I also discover that all those lies, they're not really bad. They're bad only when the lie is corrupt. And with the corruption of a lie, we create superstitions. And then we defend the superstitions fanatically. Then we can fanatics defending the superstitions that they are just the corruption of the life. But life by itself is just a distortion of the truth. It's either good or bad, or right or wrong. When we understand that, we also understand how we create the story of the life, the one that we live in. And this is what I present in this book, the story of my life. In the one you will see this conflict that exists between the truth and life. Then Lala, which is everything that I know, they have all those different kinds of lives. The lives that are corrupt, as well as the lives that are just a reflection of the truth. And those lives are only lives because we put it in words. And with words, we cannot really contain the meaning of everything that we perceive, because our language is very limited. Then we can say, in this point of view, there's good life and bad life. And the bad life is when the lives are corrupt, and we believe in that corruption. And those lives are the ones who will control, almost in everybody, the direction of the story that we create. And in that story, we create all those characters, all the secondary characters, as well as the main character, which is the most important, because the whole story is based on the main characters. And everything that we perceive, everything that we know, everything that we feel is about the main character, which is what we believe we are. And like I said before, for many years, I used to believe that I was the main character of my own story, until I speak with my grandfather, and he let me know that I am not what I believe I am. And of course, like I said before, that created a big conflict in my mind, in the virtual reality, because in that encounter with the truth, many of the lies that become superstition and that I was defending with all my fanatism start falling apart. And of course, when that fall apart, I didn't feel secure. I felt that my entire reality was falling apart. But what was falling apart, it was just all those lives that was being corrupt. Because by the end of the day, when I surrendered and I knew that I am not what I believe I am, it's a big relief. It's a big freedom. Because in certain moments, I no longer have to be me. I don't want to please everybody else's point of view, and I don't have to please my own point of view because I'm no longer practicing to be what I am not, which means I become more and more authentic. And as you can see, whoever reads this book and they compare with their own story, they will find out that in their story, they have exactly the same conflict. They create also all those superstitions, and they defend the superstition. But when we go to the core of everything, how everything really begins, we find out that it's because we learn to love the same way that everybody else loves. In my case, I learned to love the same way that my parents and my brothers love. When I went to school, I learned to love the way the other students love and the teachers, the way that the whole society loves. And this is conditional love, which means I love you if you let me control you. If you do whatever I want you to do, we can be extremely happy. But this is the way how everybody else love us. They love us with conditions, which means they love us if they can control us. If we do what they want us to do, if we wear the way they want us to wear, if we speak the way they want us to speak, if we believe what they want us to believe, then they love us. Then wherever we go, we can see that everybody loves each other exactly the same way, with conditions. But the worst part is that we learn to love ourselves also with conditions, which means I love myself if I can become what I wish to be. And this is why we're always looking for perfection. We want to be perfect according to that point of view, the point of view of conditional love. When we understand this point, we also will understand why exists all the violence, all the injustice, all those conflicts, all the anger, all the jealousy, even war. We can understand all those conflicts that exist in humanity. When we understand how one human mind works and we extend it to the entire humanity, we will find out that the whole humanity have exactly the same conflict. And the conflict is, once again, the truth versus life. And we can see that in most of the constitutions that exist in all these countries. Because in the constitutions, we try to go to the truth and rule a whole country following that truth. And we have all these people who make everybody to obey the law. That's why it's important to have a police and to have army, etc., to defend that law that has the tendency to bring the truth and the justice to everyone. Then we see that in our own mind. We see that conflict, and we can see that the main character of the story ones that accumulate all the knowledge, ones that have all those superstitions. That superstition could be religious superstition, political superstition, sports, etc. But they have all those superstitions, and we see the behavior. We can understand that we all are fanatics in one way or another way. And when we understand that point, we also can understand the possible solution. then the main character of our story, it can become the big hero or the big victim. When we become the big victim, it's because all those superstitions who rule, we can say, our own constitution. That we're going to have a big judge who will judge the main character and will find him guilty, or will have a reward. Then when we understand that point, we can see that we can stop being a victim and we can become a hero, and a hero will use a big tool in order to face all those superstitions, in order to face our own fanatism. And that tool is the truth. When we understand that point, we also understand the reason why, let's see, Christ 2,000 years ago told the apprentices, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Well, free of all those superstitions, free of all our own fanatism. And when we use the truth, we find out that the conflict is being resolved. Because like we said before, the conflict is between the truth and lies. And in the lies, especially the superstitions. Then every time that we face all those superstitions, it happens when the truth arrives. And all those assumptions that we make, or all what we used to say before, etc., will break apart. And that will change completely our direction. Then every time that we face the superstition with the truth, and we win over the superstition, all the power that we use to create those superstitions, it returns to the main character who becomes bigger and stronger every time, until the point comes when there's an equilibrium between all those lies and the truth. And after that point, the truth starts winning and winning until finally we can change our entire reality. We can change all our story. And it's exactly what happened in that story, that is the Toltec art of life and death. But finally you know the truth as it is.
Wow. Don Miguel, I didn't want to come in anywhere there. That was so marvelous. Thank you. I want to share, there's a comment here from Zoya in Turlock, California. She says, thank you so much for having Don Miguel on the call. I feel I always have to go more deeply within when I listen to this wonderful being. And Zoya, I think you speak for all of us. Just so much incredible wisdom there. We're talking about Don Miguel's recent book. It came out in October 2015. It's called The Toltec Art of Life and Death. That is available in bookstores and Amazon, and invite you to check it out. Just an amazing book. And Don Miguel, I just want to say you're such a pioneer and leader, and I feel your wisdom is just so important. So as I mentioned when I introduced you, it's always such a privilege to have you here with us. As you were kind of netting all of that down, you were sharing, perhaps our biggest challenge is the conflict in our mind, the story that is repeating in our mind. And you also just so powerful where you shared that moment in your life when your grandfather said, Don Miguel, you're not who you think you are. And of course, this is where this whole oneness with the divine comes in, that you shared we're not our physical body. You came to that realization. We don't need to please anyone, that we should be authentic, and that our invitation is to love unconditionally rather than conditionally, and talking about how conditional love, where we make these false agreements, really is not satisfying for either party. There was so much that you covered. That's a summary of just a few of the key points that you made. Just incredibly powerful. Let me go ahead and bring in. I want to make sure we get to some of the listeners' questions, and we do have questions coming in. So, oh wow, we've maxed out our phone lines. So sorry about that. We do have more webinar lines. So for people that are tried to call in, I mentioned about 20,000 registered for this call. We maxed out our phone lines. We do have webinar links available for people that are trying to get into the call. So let me, people want to know, when are you coming to Hawaii again? I'm not going to, Del Miguel, when are you going to Hawaii again? He says it's been 4 years. This is Pamela in Hilo.
Well, I have no idea.
All right. So not in the plan, Pamela. Maybe, why don't you try and put something together and reach out to Del Miguel. Okay. Here's a question from Carrie in Sun City. Carrie says, my spiritual teacher taught me that wisdom is knowledge in action. In your book, you seem to say that knowledge is what gets in the way of developing wisdom. Is this true or just a different perspective of the same principle?
No, I talk about knowledge, not wisdom. Wisdom is just common sense. It's just after just accept the whole reality as is, not as we want it to be. That becomes wisdom. Then in knowledge, like we said before, we have that conflict between all those the truth and life, and in the life we have the conflict between the life that is being corrupt and creates superstition and fanatism, and the lives that are clean. Then the lives that are clean are the ones that is using the truth in that inner war, because the truth doesn't really need to participate in that war. It's just life versus life. Lives that are clean versus lives that are corrupt and become superstition. And when you finally get to the truth, you find out that at least there's two things that for sure are truth, and nobody can deny that is truth. One is death. And this is because all of us, sooner or later, will die. We cannot avoid it. We all become old, get sick, etc., but everyone will die. And the other is life. We cannot deny that life exists. We are alive. This is the only two things that we really can assure that really exist. Now, death is matter. Death and matter are exactly the same thing. Then we already know that matter only can move if a force is moving matter, or can stop when a force stops matter. But matter by itself cannot move. Then matter has a beginning and has an end. Matter reflects the force that is moving it. And the force that is moving matter, of course, is life, is pure energy. And energy is eternal. Energy has no beginning, has no end. Energy is transforming all the time. And energy is the one who is moving matter. Then the evolution of matter will depend on the reaction that matter has to the action of that energy, that force that is life. Then we can see how this force that is life put all the matter together, give different shapes, and create an entire universe that is extremely beautiful. But if we put all the matter together, we find out that matter is very small compared with the size of energy, because we see that energy in between matter. Like if we see the stars at night, we see that the stars are matter, but the space in between the stars is not matter, it's just energy. Then it's much bigger, much extends that the space that all the stars together creates. And also, when we see in our own hands, let's see, in our own physical body, we know that the physical body is made by atoms. And the atoms is just like all those stars. And the space in between all the electrons and the atoms is much bigger than all the atoms together. Then we can see that it's that force that is moving matter and put it together and create all those different shapes and forms and make that the matter in the reflection create all those reactions, all those functions. We can see, for example, that our physical body, that is an entire universe, all these different shapes, like the stomach, the liver, the heart, the brain, etc., they have their own functions. And all that is only because life, which is energy, is making have this wonderful equilibrium that we call it homeostasis. And this equilibrium is what really make every species completely different than the others. But we can say also that the entire humanity is also only one living being. Because when you see your physical body, you know that it's made of millions of cells, and every single cell can live independent to the rest of the cells. Well, humanity is exactly the same. And we humans are become the cell for humanity. Altogether, we create humanity. And we've been in this beautiful planet who knows for how many millions of years already. And we can see the evolution of humans is responding of the force of life. And it's wonderful to see that not just the humans, but all the different species on Earth and the entire universe is following this beautiful dance between life and death, or energy and matter.
Again, really just real profound wisdom. We're talking about Don Miguel Ruiz's recent book. It came out in October 2015. It's called The Toltec Art of Life and Death. And as he mentioned, this is the book talks about how we can live the truth, live in real unconditional love, be authentic, and be the hero in our life, not the victim. I love you're bringing in important themes here, Don Miguel, and Living in Oneness Summit, where you say we are part of this larger self, the self of humanity. We're all part of this one body, and of course, that's the perspective that we share in Humanity's team. We share, we're here to awaken ourselves and the world to oneness, because when we see, just as you mentioned, that we're not our body, that we're a part of the source energy or divine energy, it just completely changes our life. And the thing I love about your books is you reduce this to just some very simple agreements. Of course, your 4 agreements, and then this other wisdom that is in this recent book, The Toltec Art of Life and Death. But you really net it down to some important things that we can focus on in our daily living. Let me go to a question related to that. This question's from Marilyn in Vancouver, Canada, and she says, "It's such an honor to be present to hear Don Miguel speak. Thank you for this opportunity. Yes, I love your teachings and understand in theory, but what are some of the things one can do in everyday life to put this way of living into practice so I go beyond just awareness?"
Oh, I really love this question, because it's the most important part of practice. Because one of the things that I tell wherever I go is, please help me to change the world. And I'm not talking about the entire humanity of the planet Earth. I'm talking about the world that we create, which means the story of our own life, the only world that we can change. And to change our own world, the only way is to change the main character of the story. Because if we can change the main character of the story, the rest start changing just like magic. Then if we change what we believe we are, if we focus in ourselves, we will find out that the whole problem that we have is because we learn to love ourselves with conditions. That we have to be good enough for ourselves. And when we judge ourselves because we are not what we're supposed to be, then the result is so simple. We reject ourselves. We feel that we're not good enough, that we're not strong enough, that we're not beautiful enough, that we never will make it. And this is our own judgment because we love ourselves with conditions. It's pure conditional love, and that creates all the drama in our lives. Then in order to change that in our own practice, we need to accept ourselves just the way we are and try to deny that is not what we are. Like in this book, there is a part when I ask my apprentices to face a mirror and to speak with that mirror. And when they speak to that mirror, they say their own name. They say, my name is whatever is the name, and I am a predator. And I'm addicted to either suffering, self-pity, anger, etc., etc. We accept what we believe we are, even that we know that is not true. Then when we face ourselves in that way, then the result will be that in that self-judgment that we did in that moment, we also understand that we didn't know that we are like that because we learned to love this way. Then we start practicing exactly the opposite. We will accept ourselves just the way we are. It is okay. It's okay to have the superstitions. It's okay to defend the superstitions with all our fanatism. But what's not okay is that if we pretend it because we are not aware. Once that you're aware, now you have the opportunity to change it. And when you start changing it, what is happening is that you're changing the main character of your story. You're changing what you believe you are. You can finally start seeing yourself perfect, just to be yourself. Because at that moment, you no longer have to please anybody else's point of view. And what is more important, you don't need to please your own point of view. And when you finally find out that you are not what you believe you are, then the most liberal thing that you can do and say to yourself is that you don't have to be you. And you find out by the end of the day, once again, that you don't even know what you are. And it's not important. You know, like we say many times, the dogs, they don't know they're dogs. The cats don't know they're cats. We call them dogs, we call them cats. But they don't know that they are that, and they just don't care. Then why we have to care to be, in my case, Miguel, to be the human, to believe that I'm superior to everything else? No, we are not. There's no difference between we humans and the dogs or the cats or the elephants or trees or anything that lives in this beautiful planet Earth or any other place. They're exactly the same because there's only one being and is alive and is made by life and death. You know, something very interesting that I find out also a long time ago is that I've been dead since the moment of conception. My body is being dead all the time, but is alive because I move my body. I live in my physical body. Because without me, the body can move. It's matter. It's death. Then my physical body is just like my house. It's just like my car. I live in my physical body. Then my physical body, it becomes my sanctuary, my temple where I live. And when I know that, I see my temple, my physical body, as the love of my life. The body is being with me since conception and will stay with me until the moment that I leave my physical body. You know, in this book, I was too close to leave my physical body. It was a very amazing experience because now we can see death in a completely different way. You know, when I was in intensive care just a little before I went into coma, my little son, Don Jose, came to see me. He used to live in Malibu. in L.A., and he came to San Diego to see me because, of course, he knew I had a heart attack. And he's been one of my greatest apprentices I ever had. But when he came into the room, he was crying. He had a huge trauma, and I was so happy to see him. I had that beautiful smile. But even that I had the strong pain, of course, I just enjoying the last moments of my life. But when I see him in all this, with all that drama, my face changed. I become a little harder. I look into his eyes and say, Don Jose, is this the way that you will celebrate the death of your father? Of course, he wasn't shocked right away. I told him, get out of the room, fix yourself, and when you already come back because there's something important that I have to share with you. And of course, he went out. A few minutes later, he came back. It was completely different. And then he told me, Father, please forgive me. When I was outside, I see all my selfishness. I see that I bring all that pain with me, and I see you smiling and having a great time near to your death. And in my head, you already was dead. And I was suffering because of that. I was using you as an excuse to my suffering. And I really want you to forgive me for that. And he said, when I was out and I was thinking about this interaction that we just had, I imagined that it was exactly the opposite, that I was the one who was dying, and you came to see me with all that suffering. And I go a little further. I was already dead, and I saw you stop teaching, start writing, going to your self-pity, and stop being alive. And then I only have a few moments to talk to you, and I told you, Father, please don't use me in order to hurt yourself. I'm so happy here. There's no pain. I find out that life is, all the story of my life it was completely irrelevant, and I'm completely free. Then you are alive. Keep enjoying your life. Then I have that big smile and say, wow, this is exactly what I want to share with you. That please don't use me in order to hurt yourself, and please to understand that there will be other people who will come with all that pain, same like you, and they maybe even try to blame you for whatever happened. Don't believe them. It's not true. They speak like that and they feel like that just because they feel that emotional pain. But being dead is something completely different. Is you know, the truth is that we are eternal because we are alive. We never will die. We just live in our physical body. It's like when you have a very old car that is no longer can work, you just let it go. And this is exactly what happened with our physical body. You know, just imagine having 108, 110, 120 years old, and you just cannot die, and you hardly can walk, and you're always in pain. Well, you wish to die. You wish just to let go of your physical body. Then we really can see that is a completely different way, where we can understand that is part of the truth. That is real, but that is just the result of the creation of life, because life creates death, and life is reflected into death. That is so simple to understand.
Yes, it is. Gosh, I'd love, of course, our focus here in Humanities Team is just living, you know, as one with the divine in each other, and all of life as offspring and expressions of the divine. And Don Miguel, your wisdom just brings in, and your life story brings in all of these practical examples of how this works for you, and just where you share these deeply personal moments, such as with your son, when in this moment when you thought you were transitioning. It's so powerful because what you're sharing, your wisdom, really comes through, where you even talk about how you're excited about transitioning because you know that life is eternal. And boy, you know, I think a lot of people would say intellectually they know this. Now, on your deathbed, would most people just be smiling and totally happy? Probably some on this call would say yes, and some would say no. But it, you know, that is really the bottom line where you're just living it fully, and it's so powerful to hear you share. We're down to we just got about 10 minutes, and I'm going to take about the last 3 or 4 minutes to share a few messages. But Don Miguel, let me bring in. You've already brought in your sons, talking a little bit about them. So where you're living this way as one, knowing life is eternal, in unconditional love, authentically, all of these as the hero in your own life. How are relationships for you? Are you able to find a partner that can live this way with you, or is it not any longer about having one partner? I'm just curious. And also with your sons, you've brought in a lot of concrete examples of what that has been like. But where you're really living as one, how your relationships work with people close to you, your personal relationship and your family.
Oh, this is a very interesting question. Thank you for asking. The big part of love is respect. Then you learn to respect your own story as well as you learn to respect everybody else's story. Then for all those years, I've been respecting the story of my children. I see them making mistakes and et cetera, and I let them to take the responsibility, but I'm always there in order to help them if they need it. I can see that, yes, they make mistakes, but they learn from all those mistakes, and they have my unconditional love all the time. And once I come back from this coma, and something changed in me that I have to create priorities. Because after the coma, of course, my body wasn't not in a very good shape. I was only living with the 16% of the heart capacity. And in that priorities, I focused mainly in my 3 children to do the best for them to become as more mature as ever. I have to give everything to them before my physical death, because the doctors tell me that I may live maybe 1 more year, and if I'm lucky, maybe 2 years. But the prognosis is that I couldn't live maybe more than 1 year, but I live like that 8.5 years. I just keep doing exactly what they tell me not to do. I start traveling, I start going to different journeys, I keep reading more books, and finally, 2010, I have a heart transplant. And after that, I can go, I went for 4 years all around the world. Until finally, I become more settled right now. And, well, about a partner is exactly the same thing. It's based on respect. You respect whatever belief they have. And, of course, I can say that I can be happy with anyone, but not anyone can be happy with me. Because if they love me with all those conditions, and they will find out that there's no way that they can control me, that I will not do what they want me to do. I will do what I feel I should be doing. Then that will create a little problem, and I honestly don't want to be part of those kind of problems. But yes, I have a partner that their story is so beautiful, and I have so much respect, and they're completely free to be themselves. I don't have to control them. To love them is just to let them be whatever they are. And just accept them the way they are. Then it's a completely different point of view that perhaps will change the entire planet Earth, where most of the people love without conditions. Anyway, you can see the change already from let's see, for 50 years ago to now, everything is changing. And I think we're really going into the right direction.
Yes, well, I love it. Let people be whoever they are. We just respect them. Let them be whoever they are. And then, just as you mentioned, that you also do what you're going to do, and you are going to be who you are. So I just think it's so you're a pioneer, I guess is the word that comes to mind, because there's so much academic and intellectual talk about living as one, but I know you really live it in all parts of your life, and so it's fascinating listening to these stories of your life and how it's all unfolded. And certainly Spirit gave us all a gift, Don Miguel, in you coming to this planet at this time where the whole planet is shifting and awakening, transforming into where we live as one, because these practical examples that you share are so incredibly powerful. The website that you mentioned, is the best website for people to go to, MiguelRuiz.com, to follow your work, Don Miguel?
Oh, yes. You can see all what I'm doing and all what my children are doing. And I would like to invite everybody to join us to Teotihuacan. It's going to be next month. And if you read this book, you can see that most of the teachings is being done in Teotihuacan, which is known as the place where humans awaken and becomes God. I will say that when humans awaken and becomes the truth, that they can have a big encounter with the truth. This time, just my children are going. I'm not going this time, but they're doing exactly the same kind of work that I'm doing.
Fantastic. And if they go to MiguelRuiz.com, they can learn about that program, Don Miguel?
Oh, yes. Yes, they will find out all the information.
Fantastic.
Still time.
Yes, MiguelRuiz.com. And as Don Miguel mentioned, his sons are also great leaders, and their programs are also on this site. So invite everybody to check it out. And one more time I want to mention The Toltec Art of Life and Death. This is this new book by Don Miguel that came out in October of last year, and it sounds fascinating and certainly recommend it to everybody. Don Miguel, I want to thank you so much. Wow, it's been a marvelous hour. I just love your energy. I love being with you. I'm going to come back and thank you some more, but let me just first cover a few things. We have some upcoming programs that I don't want our listeners to miss. Be sure to join us next Thursday, February 4th at 9:30 Pacific, so it'll be an hour later. I'll be speaking with Dwayne Elgin about his book. It's called The Living Universe. And it's a fascinating book, just like the book that we're talking to Don Miguel about. It probes the question, is the universe dead or is it alive? And there are just incredible repercussions from this. One of the things Dwayne suggests is that most people live on the planet as though it is a dead universe, not a living one. So it's going to be a very powerful discussion. I invite you to join us. That's next Thursday, the 4th of February at 9:30 Pacific time. Then the following Thursday, February 11th at 9 a.m. Pacific, I'm going to be interviewing Stu Zimmerman, who's one of the hosts of this Get Conscious Now video program. It's on once a month. If you go to YouTube, you can see these Get Conscious Now videos. They're awesome. Going to be a very powerful program. I invite you to join us on that Thursday, February 11th also. If you go to livinginone.com, you'll see all of our upcoming programs. All of our programs are free, and if you missed the live program, we do send out a little thank you note and a link to the audio that you can listen to for 48 hours. This program is focused on living as one, so I want to invite everyone to be part of something Humanities Team created recently. It's called Community Circle. It's only $10 a month. It's for those who wish to be part of an intentional community committed to living and embodying oneness, those who want to collaborate and connect with leaders engaged in spiritual activism, a community that gives and receives support, a program that gives you access to all of our audio links to the Living in Oneness Summit, Global Oneness Day, and more. Over 260 programs are available to you in Community Circle. You're also invited to join a private Facebook community where we support each other. As a bonus, we're giving to those who are joining the hour-long video of the Spiritual Leadership Program last year with Michael Bernard Beckwith and Ricky Byers Beckwith, and then the year before when we were down in South Africa and we gave our Spiritual Leadership Award posthumously to Nelson Mandela. Also, Global Oneness Day is in there. The 2015 program, all 12 panels are part of it. So if you go to humanitiesteam.org and check out, you'll see there a little green button up near the top that says Community Circle. If you click on it, you can read more about it. It is, again, only $10 a month. And for people that want to go further, you can even join our Board of Advisors if you'd like to financially support our global outreach. That's humanitiesteam.org. So back to you, Don Miguel. Thank you so much for being here. A total pleasure. Just really enjoyed this hour with you. Thank you, sir. Also want to thank my colleagues here, Nanette Kennedy, Dee Meyer, Penny Heipel, Monica Augustine. These are the women that created this program. They're running the back end now. Thank you so much. And then all of the listeners here, thank you for making it a priority to be here for this call and for being a part of this shift that we're creating in the world that's already begun. We're a long way down the path. And in closing, I want to invite everyone on this call to really live as one with the divine in each other. This is ultimate reality. And, of course, the best way to spread this invitation of oneness is to really live it and have experience it ourselves and have others who we're in touch with experience it. As you know, we already are all one, so let's embody it. So enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you next Thursday, the 4th of February, 9:30 Pacific time, when I'm with Dwayne Elgin, and we're back on the air. So thanks, everybody. Thank you, Don Miguel. And we'll be in touch here soon. Take care.
Okay, well, it was my pleasure. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Don Miguel.